The year is 1954. In a unanimous decision, the United States Supreme Court declares that the segregation of the public education system is unconstitutional in the Brown v. Board of Educational case, therefore overturning the Plessy v. Ferguson decision of 1896. The court claims that the opportunities for blacks in school are separate but not equal warranting the integration of black students. During this time, Jim Crow laws, in effect since 1876, are the cause of a great schism in America, segregating blacks from whites in everyday facilities, services, and other opportunities. These include medical care, employment, transportation, housing, and even education. Also ravaging and inciting terror into the hearts of the cornered blacks is the white supremacist hate group, the Ku Klux Klan. Utilizing violence and fear to control helpless African Americans, they took to acts of terrorism such as assault, vandalism, arson, cross-burning, and anything else they could to scare the blacks into place. The civil rights movement looks bleak, and Negroes are looking for any sign of advancement towards their cause. After the Brown v. Board of Education decision, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or NAACP, a leading black activist group, attempted to integrate black students into schools in the South with little success. The Arkansas Board of Education finally complied by sending the students to Little Rock Central High School. These students would famously become the Little Rock Nine, inspiring millions and leaving a legacy for years to come. Amongst the hatred and chaos, the 9 students mustered the courage to break the color barrier against all odds. They were selected on the basis of scholarship, personal conduct, and health. The students included Ernest Green, the lone senior, Elizabeth Eckford, a 15-year-old junior aspiring to be a lawyer, Jefferson Thomas, a soft-spoken yet talented track runner, Terrence Roberts, perhaps the most scholarly of the 9, Carletta Wall, the youngest of the group, Minnie Jean Brown, a talented performer, Gloria Ray, a junior who aspired to be an atomic scientist, Thelma Mothershed, who dreamed of becoming a physician, and Melva Patillo, who was deeply interested in music. The representative of the kids, Daisy Bates, was a member of the NAACP and put immense effort in making sure they made it through their days at school. As the new school year approached, the general outcry of the white population was scathing. Many protested the integration of the 9 students, and it was made clear they were not welcome. Threat letters poured in and were received by the Bates, who kept all of them. Dear nigger lover, I thought you might want to know that I hate you and what you stand for. Arkansas was one of the best states, but when your stupid nigger friends had to butt in, and it is my belief that this is the downfall of the United States of America. If our wonderful state of South Carolina has this problem, I hope none of your nigger friends leaves this world, but if it is necessary, that might just happen. Ha ha. Signed, a nigger and NAACP hater. Some whites took to parading and picketing to display their displeasure to the world, but in the North, the majority of the attitudes towards the children was much more agreeable. Melba Patillo describes the drastic change in their treatment. In Little Rock, we had been niggers, but up north we were heroes and heroines. We were paraded across the stages before adoring audiences, chauffeured about in limousines, and treated like royalty at luxurious hotels. September 4th, 1957. This marks the date of the first attempted day of school at Little Rock Central High for the 9. Many of the white students enrolled in the school were kept home for fear of violence. In the morning, Daisy Bates heard that Governor Faubus had posted troops at the school. When the 9 black students arrived, throngs of people outside crowded the entrance. They were greeted by blockades of armed troops and turned away. This was due to the commands of the Arkansas, who was firmly against integration in schools. The students were not admitted back at school until the 25th, 21 days later. President Eisenhower, worried for their safety, called for the 101 Airborne Division to guard the school until withdrawing them a week later. As they arrived, chaos ensued as a mob of whites stood outside looking for violence. They mistook a group of black reporters for the students and attacked them, allowing the Little Rock Nine to safely sneak into the school through a side door. During their time at school, the Little Rock Nine faced countless challenges, which they bravely overcame. The kids were bullied, beaten, threatened, excluded, and tormented in numerous other ways. Any kind of school play, torture was involved, from placing thumbtacks under seats to times where Ernest Green's locker was urinated on. In a letter from Daisy Bates to Roy Wilkins, executive director of the NAACP, Bates describes countless instances of the unfair treatment to the Nine. We also pointed out that the treatment of the children are getting steadily worse for the last 2 weeks in the form of kicking, spitting, and general abuse. She later goes on to discuss the measures taken to chastise the white students bullying them. As a result of our visit, stronger measures are taken against the white students who are guilty of committing these offenses. For instance, a boy who had been suspended for 2 weeks flunked both 6-week tests, and on his return to school, the first day, he knocked Gloria Ray into her locker. As a result of our visit, he was given an indefinite suspension. She then describes an instance where she felt they weren't coming down hard enough. The superintendent of schools also requested a conference the same afternoon. Clarence and I went down and spent about 2 hours there. Here again, we pointed out that a 3-day suspension given to Hugh Williams for a sneak attack perpetrated on one of the Negro boys, which knocked him out and required a doctor's attention, was not significant punishment. Acts of kindness to the Nine were rare and seldom seen. The fear of retaliation against those who supported them was ever present. The 9 students worked hard to appear unfazed, and Melba Patillo did this by a sweet "thank you" every time she was mistreated. People throughout the world showed support for the Little Rock Nine, including the famous athlete Jackie Robinson. On October 17, 1957, he spoke with six of the 9 students on the phone. He was quoted as saying, "I know everybody up here and in Little Rock is saying that you youngsters have shown the world how you people can conduct themselves under pressure, and certainly you, at your age, shouldn't have to face this." He later went on to say, "I think it is one of the rarest, finest things that could happen talking to you. I think it makes my job look like nothing, what I had to go through." All over the world, letters were sent to the Little Rock Nine showing their support. One of them from Enfield, England, reads, "May we, as a white English family, express to you our distress at the recent happenings in Little Rock and wish you every success in your cause." Another, from Amsterdam, from the Netherlands, says, "This is to notify you how the Dutch nation admires your attitude and courage. Every modern human being here in Europe, being brown, black, white, yellow, or whatever race, stands behind your opinions." More was accomplished here than just a proper chance at education for some African American youth. What happened here was the beginning of something much greater. Freedom to learn, advance, and even greater so, freedom to be accepted by a predominantly white society, once ignorant and blind to any and all of the major racial issues at hand. Little did these young individuals know they would go down in history. Throughout major volumes, archives, and newspaper articles, a legacy was left behind. Ernest Green went on to graduate from Michigan State University and served as Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Affairs under President Jimmy Carter. Elizabeth Eckford made a career of the U.S. Army that included work as a journalist. Jefferson Thomas is an accountant with the U.S. Department of Defense and lives in Anaheim, California. Terrence Roberts, later a doctorate degree, and teaches at the University of California at Los Angeles and Antioch College. He is also a clinical psychologist. Carlotta Walls went on to graduate from Michigan State University and presently lives in Englewood, Colorado, where she is in real estate. Minnie Jean Brown went on to become a writer and social worker in Ontario, Canada. Winter Star Productions is presently filming a documentary on her life. Gloria Ray became a prolific computer science writer and at one time successfully published magazines in 39 countries. Thelma Ware graduated from college, then made a career of teaching. She lives in Belleville, Illinois, where she is a volunteer in a program for abused women. Melba Patillo is an author and former journalist for People magazine and NBC and lives in San Francisco.
From the President's office in the White House in Washington, D.C., we present a special address by the President of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Mr. Eisenhower discusses the integration problem at Little Rock, Arkansas. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Good evening, my fellow citizens. For a few minutes this evening, I should like to speak to you about the serious situation that has arisen in Little Rock. To make this talk, I have come to the President's office in the White House. I could have spoken from Rhode Island, where I have been staying recently. But I felt that, in speaking from the house of Lincoln, of Jackson, and of Wilson, my words would better convey both the sadness I feel in the action I was compelled today to make, and the firmness with which I intend to pursue this course until the orders of the federal court at Little Rock can be executed without unlawful interference. In that city, under the leadership of demagogic extremists, disorderly mobs have deliberately prevented the carrying out of proper orders from a federal court. And so, with deep confidence, I call upon the citizens of the state of Arkansas to assist in bringing to an immediate end all interference with the law and its processes. If resistance to the federal court order ceases at once, the further presence of federal troops will be unnecessary, and the city of Little Rock will return to its normal habits of peace and order.